Are you scared? Do you have fear? Are you afraid of things? Are you afraid of non-things, meaning situations? In this video I will talk about fear. Hello and welcome. My name is Matthias and I help my viewers achieve their full potential. Fear. For sure, you know the emotion fear. Fear, in an extreme form, is panic and even horror, which is related to fear. Fear, in my opinion, is the biggest blockage for you, for people, to achieve their full potential. So it is highly important to go against your fear, or work even with your fear, to collaborate with your fear, to analyze your fear. Where does it come from? Fear is a very, very strong emotional reaction to things, and in the case of phobia, it might even be completely irrational, and you don't know where that comes from. So I have my explanation for this, which I'd like to share with you here in this video, and maybe in coming ones too. But I'd say in this video I will cover most of this topic. So fear. What did I mean by saying you should collaborate or work with your fear? It means that where you have the biggest fear, or where your biggest fear lays, you should go. Face it. Because fear, on one side, of course, it is a huge challenge to overcome. On the other side, it is exactly an indication of your system where you can achieve the most, or evolve the most, or in your personal development. I checked what are the biggest fears in the world, and well, top ranked apparently is still the Arachnophobia, which is the fear of spiders, and secondly the fear of snakes, and then agoraphobia, which means it's claustrophobic, which means you are afraid, or you are scared of places where you cannot escape, so you don't have enough space. And another of the top ranking ones is the fear of height, or too much space, so where there are tall buildings and so on. So what my interpretation, or how I see these fears, and what the underlying reason for these are, I'd like to share with you. I hope you get some value out of it, and we can work on these fears. By the way, I can easily release your fears without an issue. If you are up for it, I offer sessions, energetic sessions, because fear, as everything in this universe, is energy, and I can release this energy, this fear energy, and yeah, you're going to be fear-free. Or you can take a longer process to do so, but there are easy ways. So arachnophobia and the fear of snakes. These the phobias in general are usually coming from past lives. Most of them are coming from past lives, or as they are very deeply ingrained in our brain, in our I think in the small brain, Kleingehirn in German, which is one of the oldest parts of the brain. I didn't look into it, so please bear with me. But the fear, arachnophobia and the fear of snakes, is very much due to to our ancestors when they were still very dangerous spiders and very dangerous snakes, and coming from many thousand years, or many generations back, yeah, the people then, they had to be very careful of whatever there was walking around. Gladly, the dinosaurs were not around anymore, according to the official evolutionary theory. So might be, but whatever. Maybe we still have dinosaurs around, like crocodiles, sharks. There are even more things deep down there in the oceans, but speculations. So yeah. So fear. What are fears? Well, as I said, it's a strong indicator that you are scared, that something's very uncomfortable for you, and as it comes from past lives, or the phobias which come from past lives, is very well or very easy for me to explain as it is an accumulation of energy. As emotions create energetic balls, like of the fist of like the size of a fist, or can even denser and get smaller and smaller. But this is this fear, this emotion. From the point on you have such an energetic ball in your system, you attract more and more such situations if you don't release this energy properly. So meaning, if you don't fear the face, if you fear the face and overcome it, then you will release a lot, because it's also a mental process which then affects the way you react emotionally to this. More about emotions and what is their link to the Matrix. Please check out my video I posted a few days ago. And yes. So about fear, as I said, the bigger the fear, the greater the potential for the evolution of yourself. I myself, I had my fears. When I was a small kid, or when I was younger, I think early teenage years, my family and me, we went to a high place, a hill, well, mountain, something between a hill and mountain, where there is a sightseeing tower. It's just made of metal, so it's scaffolding actually, and it is like 50 meters away from an edge, which then goes down several hundred meters, and out of whatever reason, I couldn't say, or I was not able to say. I went up this scaffolding tower, sightseeing tower, and the second floor, which was like 5-10 meters maximum high, I needed to walk on my four limbs, and it was like, what the heck? There was a panic, a horror of this height. Completely irrational, and I still cannot explain where it comes from, because I didn't check it. I could for sure what lifetime it comes from and what it is related to, but it's for sure a fear of height, which was very strong. But now I'm quite fine with it, even though I always feel like being on a high building or on a place of great height and close to the balustrade or so, I have the feeling like I should not lean against it, maybe because it might just fall. I don't know where that comes from. So yeah, and one of very big fear or blockage I have was always with, but until recently, I'd say, or yeah, quite recently. I haven't tried it out yet, but one of the biggest fears for me, you cannot imagine most probably as you see me standing here, but fear of approaching, talking to girls. I was completely scared. I was afraid. It was a horrifying imagination for me, and nothing can happen, but still I was looking into pickup artistry, but it was an irrational thing for me, this fear to overcome, which I still have not properly made, except for, now overcame it. But I said it was completely irrational, and I can tell you, I missed many amazing opportunities, or to meet, or to connect, to bond with amazing women I met in my life, throughout my life. So yeah, now here I am. I think it was also a combination of fear of success. I mean, look at me now. I wouldn't call me unattractive. So, and if I would set my mind to, there is success behind it for sure. And then, as I was doing an energy work course now in August, I'm a master now of a certain lineage, even further developed. I released it, and the underlying reason, or it goes back to, I did the energy work course I did. There was a first level course and then a second level course. First level course I did in February, March, and I worked first on this topic, and it goes back to most probably to the sexual abuse I experienced in my childhood. So there was a problem with intimacy, with bonding, and so there it was messed up with my root chakra. About chakras, you can watch on one of my previous videos, also a few days ago, and it was messed up, which then caused for me to have problems with relationships, with connecting with people, or all these things. I will talk about that in another video, what this messes up, what abuse in childhood messes up, which is a very grave, very, very, very intense thing to happen, as you might imagine. And if you have not experienced it, then it's even more unimaginable for you. But nonetheless, come back. So I started releasing this, but I noticed, and then to come back, what happened when I did the first release back in March, February, it goes back to when I was a dragon rider, dragon knight. This might sound very woo-woo, or however you want to define it for certain people, but this is what I experienced. So I was back in the times of Lemuria and Atlantis, and about these topics I will speak in another video too, but just take this story as I tell you, and make whatever you want out of it. So back in Lemuria and Atlantis, so maybe you know, Lemuria and Atlantis were once friends. Well, first there was Lemuria, which was a high vibrational place, hovering or being above the earth, and then there was Atlantis, which was like a site, a new place of Lemuria. They initiated. Now you can see it's in Mauritania, which is in Africa, apparently. Even Plato talked about Atlantis and so on. It's being said that not Mercury, Neptune, and his the Greek name Poseidon exactly was the king there, and it drowned, which was then related also to the big flood of Noah. This time, according to my knowledge. So, however, but the people in Atlantis, they started to, or certain people started to mess around with energies and everything. So they intended to do war, or start a war against Lemuria, because Lemuria was still superior in kind of. And so I was royalty, and I had my dragon, and I was preparing for this war. So I was a special task force of 5 people to take down Lemuria. So what then happened, I had my dragon, which was female. Kind of, it was a part of me. The dragon and me shared consciousness. Or our soul. The connection was very deep. Maybe you know the story of Aragon. Or maybe you ride horses. So you know there is a very strong connection between the rider or the knight and the animal. Very strong bondage, but this even went further. It's very difficult to explain, so I'll leave that out. So this this dragon story, I was a part of this task force. So we went and wanted to take down this king or dark king or whoever that was. And what happened was my colleagues, they treasoned me. So what had this as an effect was that I lost my dragon. It was captured, and this dragon was put in another dimensional box, prison, however you want to call it, and I was ripped off my my horn, or however as far as I remember, I had a horn, which was a very strong. It was like an antenna for telepathy and so on. And so throughout my past lives, what I experienced is that I didn't want to bond necessarily with women out of the fear of losing or not starting an intimate connection or relationship with women, in order not to lose or the probable losing this partner again. And now this finally I released this. This was the story with the dragon, with my dragon, and I released also then the inner child or childhood trauma, and then now in the second level in master course, now I worked on it again because there was still some remains as I got triggered. I got very strongly triggered when there was a situation, when there was a quite an attractive woman or girl I liked, and but she was then I was not capable. I was completely blocked, paralyzed, not being able to even talk. And so, but then for me it was clear, hey, there's still way more behind this. So this blockage, I worked on it again in the master course, and the actual reason for this was on other levels too. I was fear of sex because out of some spells or bans I was put into, and yeah, so it was kind of the fear of sex because some programming or some things, I don't know where it comes from, but this was related to that. So that's so much about the fear of one of the biggest fears, or the biggest fears I had. And now one of the another big fear or something I was procrastinating on was starting my YouTube channel and on my TikTok. It's talking to people, talking about my knowledge, sharing my knowledge, because in past life I was punished. I was killed several times or many times for sharing knowledge, for higher dimensional knowledge, for knowledge of higher consciousness level. So yeah, that's so much about my fears. So I ask you, what is your biggest fear? What is your biggest fear? Why are you struggling with it? And usually it is, as you saw or as you heard from my example, it's a fear is a symptom too, but there are many underlying reasons for that cause this fear actually. So what could it be? And if you struggle with finding out the reasons, I'm gladly here to help you or support you in that sense, because I know how blocking it is, and yeah, and I'd like to have had someone that would have showed me when I was younger, so that would be somewhere completely else right now. But now, as you've been guided to this video and now you watched until now, please, we can have sessions together on that. A fun fact, I checked while I was checking on the fears, what are the biggest fears of humans currently in Germany in 2020. The biggest fear was that Trump would make the world worse or a horrible place. About Trump, this is something else I might talk about in another video. And Corona, actually, receiving corona or catching corona was only on rank 17 in this for the people. There was another fear was is a rising livelihood cost, for instance, and yeah, I mean, one of a very big general. I mean, this is global fear of people is talking in front of public, talking in front of people. So this for me is quite clear that it is related. Well, first of all, it's related to the throat chakra, first of all, but secondly, it has to do either with feeling okay, people will laugh at me when I do so, because I tell them my opinion. But it's not only, maybe not only from this lifetime, but from past lifetimes. But from this lifetime, it might be from some traumatizing experiences people had when they were young, or they were told not to say the opinion, just to oppress even their emotions and everything. So, and also it depends on how they were told when they were a child. It has a very strong effect, and this also might be caused by other reasons. So, as said, let's find it out together. And in coming videos, I do healing sessions with you guys. So to release you from all these causes or reasons. So yeah, what about fear? Other than that, fear. There is a Dr. Hawkins, not the guy, another astrophysicist in the wheelchair that passed away recently. But there is another Dr. Hawkins, which created the level of consciousness scale, and you can measure the vibration and the value of people, of emotions. So shame, for instance, is the lowest vibrating emotion with a value of 20. I don't know if there's any whatever, no hertz or whatever however you want to call it, just 20. And fear is higher. So it is the vibration is not as low, but it has it's not as strong. It doesn't lower your vibration as much, but it still it blocks you immensely. And so what does fear do? And why is it such a strong control mechanism for whoever? So you can prove that when you are constantly afraid, you lower your immune system. You are sick all the time due to that, and you don't do things because you are afraid of. Check out your life. How many things don't you do because of fear of something? Check it out. Just start writing a list maybe, and you realize, why don't you start your own company or business? Why don't you tell your opinion to your toxic partner and break up? Are you afraid of being alone or lonely? Are you afraid of not finding that you wouldn't find love anymore? Rest assured that there's always love around. Love is the energy. Love is the divine energy that's all around. But first you need to love yourself. That's highly important, just mentioning, aside from all that. So yeah, fear. So if you are in a low or in a fearsome state, or in a state where you are constantly afraid and scared, and it lowers your immune system. So you can imagine what happens and you like exactly you make irrational decisions. You take irrational decisions when you are in a fear, in a panic state, in a state of fear. So you can imagine now where I want to go with this. In order to control people, you make them afraid. You scare them. You scare them in order to have them in a constant fear, where you then, or you, whoever that is, government or the people behind the governments, offer solutions which are not in the best interest of the people, but in the best interest of these groups of people. So it is of great interest for these groups, so that people are scared all the time. And one of the big things how to keep people afraid is to keep them uneducated, because then this also makes, or a big fear is the fear of the unknown or uncertainty. So the less you know, the less uncertain things. You can see where also the more you can separate people, which has also to do. So when you separate people, when you separate groups of people, you then nurture this fire of fear of the other group. I noticed this goes way deeper than I intended, or I thought I'm going to talk about in this video. But yeah, so you might get an overview how deep this goes. Come back quickly about shame. Shame, as I said, is the lowest vibrating energy, emotion you can have. So when you keep the people in a shameful state, then the universe will make their life appear very, very miserable, because they attract very miserable circumstances. So what I want to say with this, the religions you have, or what in many cultures is being said, sex is a very shameful act to do. Why do they do so? And sex is the most natural thing to do, and it can be it's very beautiful. So you then, whenever you do this beautiful, very natural thing or action, something deep inside of you triggers, or shame gets triggered. So you have this vibration around you, which then attracts again these or situations accordingly of shame, which make you feel ashamed again. So then what then later happens, so the very important part here is through sex. I will talk about this in another video, but sex is actually, if properly done, if properly practiced, so tantric sex, it is a very fast way to connect with God, to merge with God, to reach the divine state. That being said, another thing about sex, to make it round, this information, another thing they do in culture, or how we are manipulated, is that sex sells, and there are sexual notions all over. So you get triggered, you get horny all the time, actually, and the culture talks about sex. So they force you, they trigger you to have sex, because it's a very addictive thing too, which then leads to you feel shameful about it, which then also makes you feel shameful about yourself, and so on and so on. And where you go even deeper, it's always important to manipulate or also condition the children already, or because until the age of 7 you are just open as a book and you absorb every information without questioning. So what then happens is you already sow the seeds for the adults to be controlled more easily later on. So yes, what else about fear? So I did a bit this and that, and I talked about this and that in this video, not only about fear, but you see how multidimensional or multi-layered this topic is, fear. As I said, face your fears. Face your fears. It's always going to be good. It's always going to be as it should. What's best for you? What's best for you? Of course, do not jump from a cliff necessarily, or so, because you are afraid of it, and I told you to do so, or if there is a armored, or if there are people with guns and don't endanger your life through stupid decisions you take just because I said so. Be rational, and yeah, I'd say for this video this isn't enough information for now. I hope you got value or new information from this video. If so, please like and share this video with your friends, with your colleagues, and so on. Comment. I'd be happy and gladly answer your questions. Hope to see you in another video. Don't forget to follow, and look forward to connect with you on other levels. And yeah, so you're valuable, you're very important. Thank you for being, thank you for doing your amazing job. Thank you for keeping your vibration high. Much love. Namaste. My name is Matthias. Bye for now.